Welcome to the Bill and Chris Shop Talk. We're going to talk a little bit today about the 60140. You got some nice looking items here you want to share with us and some updates.
Yes, sir. What we do in our standard Reman facility is we take and update this center support that has this wagon track going around like we've talked about with a shim to stop the fretting or wear of the case and the center support to each other. We put a steel shim in and it stops it. Well, then we get phone calls because of the various parts that we sell. That center support has a Torrington bearing on the hub neck of the support, and this one doesn't. And the reason why is the earlier supports had this plate that's held on by 3 bolts. What you are supposed to do is simply unbolt this plate. You throw the plate in the trash along with the 3 bolts, and you take that bearing. If your support is good, you chisel off the old bearing and you drop it all together. That is why this doesn't have a bearing on it, nor is it machined for that bearing to fit on it. And this is what comes out of WIT a lot of cases, because this is a later part than what that is.
That's an updated version.
It's an updated version right out of Ford.
Now, what was their reason for going away from the bearing and removing the plate?
They realized that their failures that they were experiencing of that bearing disintegrating and the small little needles dropping into the planetary gear train, they lost an entire planetary setup. Okay, you lost sun gear, rear planet, rear ring gear. So you lost a lot of money. All because of that bearing, which they found out they didn't need for support.
So by removing it, I'm assuming this is an old dam?
That's an old version because it's got the bearing plate on top of it, and it's got 3 Torx bolts. You simply remove the bolts, remove the plate, everything stays in place, and you're good to go.
Now, is it necessary to remove the plate, or can you just put the style without the bearing in there?
Well, it won't stack up right in some cases, and this is why you want to remove it. It's not there. If you get a late model Planet, it doesn't even have that plate on it. They eliminated it altogether.
So Bill, when you remove that, does it remove this whole plate?
No,
No,
just the center.
plate.
just the centerpiece where the bearing runs.
And then you said on the one that come out that's OE with the bearings on it.
Right.
You said there was some shims that comes. Is there shims that comes with the one from Ford?
If you buy a new one from Ford, it comes with a shim and the support. You get one from WIT, it comes with the support, and we have a shim available to do exactly what the factory does.
Now, will the shim be on the ring or will the shim be around?
Shim is on the out OD.
Okay, so that just done away with the flaw with the bearing.
That is correct,
Gotcha.
because that little bearing can't deal with the big heavy Planet.
I would agree.
Okay, and that was the whole thing. This Planet was hanging on that bearing, and that made it very bad for the unit.
And Bill, when they destroyed a Planet like that, what would a Planet cost? Look, the defect of the bearing is such a small piece and a cheap, I guess, part. What would one of them cost you if it did destroy it?
Well over $600.
Wow, gotcha.
Remember, you lose the unit
I would
too.
agree. Yeah.
I mean, you just lose so much, but in parts alone, okay, you lose the rear ring gear, output shaft, this rear planet, the sprag assembly, sun gear, and whatever else it decides to damage in the unit along the way. So I mean, this is just a monumental failure issue
I got
that
you.
we've been addressing in our Roadmaster series units, because Roadmaster, a division of WIT, is the one that builds 6R140s. We've been doing it that way for some time, and I felt we needed to explain things because I get phone calls from WIT customers. Hey Bill, I just got this center support and there's no bearing. Nope, not needed.
They just gotta get shed of the plate.
That's it. That's what I tell them to do.
And again, going back to the shim, when we ship the part, will we ship a shim with it, or will it have to be requested?
If it's,
In the future, what will happen, any of these that have wear, they will be machined and the shim will be sent with it.
Okay,
yes.
okay, gotcha.
I was trying to
That's
remember
it.
what we said in the past.
That's a work in progress that
Okay.
we'll have on the shelf here just shortly.
Good, okay, very good. Well, that's a great improvement. And I can imagine when the little bearings start popping out, I'm sure it can do a number on the teeth. And,
Oh, it just shatters them.
yeah,
I mean, and Ford got to the point where you can't even buy that bearing anymore.
okay.
But there's still people out there getting that center support with a bearing on it.
So, really?
Yeah?
So can you still buy the center support with the bearing from Ford?
No, they get good used.
Good use, which is not very smart to do if it comes apart inside of your,
You're potentially building a flaw back into it
I understand.
by doing that.
Yeah.
Okay. And again, going back, and we carry this today,
Yes,
okay,
that's right out of our inventory.
okay. And we get those from,
Cores that Chris's
Been-
department
And he-
strips and
and he
washes.
processes them and you
Yep.
spec them to make sure that they're in
Absolutely.
tolerance.
Absolutely.
And then you make that decision at that point in time based off your specs, if it needs a shim or not.
Correct.
And then if it does, you will put a shim with the product when we ship it to the customer.
Correct.
That's awesome. When did this actually take place? How long have we known that? And I know there's been some complaints about it because you brought that up a while back, and I'm just curious.
The unit made its introduction in 2011, and we started seeing failures in 2014.
Okay. But big improvement, gentlemen. Very nice. And again, did we put any bulletins out to any of our customers like that, or any of the shops that would help them out, or could we do something like that in the future?
Sir, that is your
I
department.
think it'd be a good idea because to me as a builder, it would be nice to know that with an update. So that's
Well,
something
this,
that we
this
can.
is why we do our shop talk.
Absolutely. I learned something today. Thank you very much, Bill and Chris. I have no further questions. Great job, guys.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Now, the next topic is,
The next topic is the G-Tech hot flush. I've heard a lot of talk about the G-Tech, and Ford Motor Company uses the G-Tech, and very impressive hot flush machine. We do sell those as well out of some of our locations. Can you give us some insight on that?
well, hot flushing transmission oil coolers is a mandatory item on late model units, or you replace that cooler. That's really what it's boiling down to. Chris and I both see a lot of cores come in loaded with fine metal and all types of garbage, and really the only way to get that stuff out is to hot flush it. And what people need to understand, and why we support the G-Tech, or at least I do, it is the only hot flush machine approved to be used at Ford dealerships. If you go into a Ford dealership and you see them hot flushing a cooler, it is going to be a G-Tech. It's not gonna be any other machine. It is going to be a G-Tech. And there's a reason why. It beat out every other machine. It is extremely durable. It is as close to unbreakable for a piece of equipment as you can get because they built it so durable. And it does a great job. I mean, you got to make sure the big thing with these machines is you got to get the systems up to temperature. The big thing that shops don't get is it takes more than 15 to 20 minutes of flushing to get the system up to temperature, let alone clean. Transmission fluid is a high detergent oil. It gets activated when it's up to temperature, which is in the vicinity of 160 degrees plus. So if you don't get it warmed up, it's not going to clean. That's all there is to it. But you know, you're right. We do sell the G-Tech out of a couple of our branches. I know Charlotte has got the machines on hand. They're constantly coming out with new blocks to do various units, and they work really well.
Wonderful. You know, the units are more complicated today than probably ever before. Would you agree?
Oh, hands down, no
And-
questions about it.
And it's probably more so critical today to do a hot flush on an install than it would have been 20 years ago, right, Bill?
30 years ago.
30 years ago? Because you've seen a lot of changes coming up through the ranks, right, Bill?
Yes, I have. I mean, the old days, turbo 350s, 400s, hot flush wasn't even on the radar back then. They really didn't start coming out until 4L60E. Okay,
Okay.
that's when they started coming out. That's when they started being in the marketplace. So you've got to look at the complexity of these units, and you've got to look at what the failures are. Like we discussed, torque converter failures in various units. Well, that's catastrophic. Any way you slice it, would you agree, Chris?
Absolutely, and all the debris gets stuck in the coolers, and like Bill was saying, until you get it up to temp and flowing in both directions, it's just, you're not gonna get it loose.
Well, and you know, the big thing about modern coolers is their design. And as they warm up, the coolers actually expand internally and open up. Okay, so when they cool down, they close down, all the fins close in on each other, and they trap all the sediment and debris and everything.
Gotcha.
That's why we get shops when we ask the question, what did you use to flush the cooler? I've had, please don't laugh, I've had responses, everything from gasoline, Varsol, diesel fuel, brake clean, you name it, guys have tried to use it. And that stuff, that technology is not going to work on late model units. It's just not going to survive.
Totally understand. All right, gentlemen, I do thank you for all the info and the updates, and it's always good to bring new items to the table for our customers. We wouldn't be here today without our customers, and we thank them for that.
Agreed.
Yep.
And I encourage our customers to reach out to their sales rep or to our tech line with any questions, even though it doesn't pertain to us, for us to help them out. Y'all have a great day, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.